The incident I'm about to tell you still haunts me to this day. It happened to me when I was still in high school. A new game was in the craze at the time, Dragon Age Inquisition. It was a 4-player life simulation game. In that game, the player had to take on the role of one of the 4 Inquisition. They were dispatched to eliminate either a cohort of Venatori, a battalion of Red Templars, a swarm of Darkspawn, a pack of demons, or a Katam and Kanari that had taken control of an area. Every location had 5 zones, and once the players completed the first 4 zones, the agents had to face enemies led by the enemy commander, either Calpurnia, Samson, or Emissary Alpha, an Envy Demon, or Seraph, depending on which faction they are fighting. Once the final wave of enemies was killed, the match ends victoriously. I was obsessed with that game, and often used to go to the nearby gaming cafe to play it. I used to play this game for hours, and after I was finished playing, I used to open my Facebook account and post my progress of it. I often played with different players, but there was one guy with name of Hunter Z309 whom I played most of my games with. We even used to talk using Dialogue Wheel. One day after the game, I logged into Facebook and uploaded my progress post. After that, I clicked the messages of others and went to check notifications. Someone had tagged me in a post, and the person who tagged me was unknown to me. So I checked the post, and there was a picture of me sitting in the cafe playing Dragon Age. The picture was taken 2 days ago. I recognized the outfit from that day. I looked around. Everyone was busy on their own. Surprisingly, he was in my friends list, and I had no idea when I added him. I did not think much of it at the time, but slowly it started to increase. I was tagged in more pictures of me. I had no idea who it was and when did he take my picture. I messaged him, saying it's rude to take pictures of others and upload it without permission. He instantly replied, "I'm sorry, I'll take it down." And after that, all the posts with my pictures were deleted from his account. I was relieved, but I was still not sure about him taking my pictures again. I messaged him saying not to do this anymore, but I should have been a little more specific about it. The next day, when after playing game, I checked my Facebook. The pictures were sent into my inbox and they were from the same day. I looked around and shouted, "Who is it?" Everyone started looking at me with confusion, so I couldn't recognize who it was. I texted him to stop it, but there was no reply. The pictures kept increasing day by day, so I complained about it to the cafe owner. But even after that, it did not stop. And along with the pictures of me being in the cafe, other pictures that were downloaded from my Facebook and were edited in nude models' bodies started to come. I was extremely worried about it and had no idea what to do. I thought of telling my parents about it, but since I used to come here by the excuse of going to the library, I was really scared, so I stopped going to the cafe. But it still did not stop. He started sending threat messages to me, along with the pictures of new models with my face edited on it. One day, he sent me a picture of a nude model in a weird pose and asked me to send him my picture in that pose. I immediately blocked him and deactivated my Facebook account. I locked myself inside my room and stopped going anywhere. My parents started to worry about me and started to ask questions. I had no courage to tell them about it after lying to them so much. I was depressed. After a few days, one of my friends sent me a picture that was going viral and told me that it was my picture. I checked and it was the same picture with that nude model in that pose, but with my face edited to it. I immediately told her about everything. She said I should tell my parents about it before they find such pictures from somewhere else and report this. I stomped back and forth in my room, arguing subconsciously to myself if I should tell them or not. What if they start to yell? What if they don't even talk to me anymore? What if they kick me out of the house? And what if they don't want me anymore? All what-if questions were roaming around in my mind. Somehow, I managed to gather enough courage to tell them about it and come clean. When we were all having dinner, I approached them, saying, "I need to tell you guys something." Their focus went toward me, and I started to tell them everything. I told them about how I used to go play games and not library and how I ended up with a cyber stalker. I thought that they would be disappointed in me, but that wasn't the case. They looked at me with a concerned look, and my mother spoke. "We know, honey, about you going to the cafe. We let you be because we know you study hard." My parents told me not to worry and they will take care of it. They went there and reported it to the cyber police department. The investigation started and they tracked the source of the post and messages. It turned out to be the cafe owner's son, and he was also the one who used to play with me online. All the posts that were uploaded by him, along with the viral ones, were completely taken down from the internet. I was relieved. But the next day when I went to school, I felt like everyone was staring at me and gossiping about me. Everyone was talking about what happened to me. My friends started to avoid me. But still, somehow I managed to finish my school and started preparing for college. Even to this day, sometimes people recognize me from the viral picture and ask me about it. It has become a habit of mine to ignore such people. Hey guys, thanks so much for all the support. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. Based in Richmond, Texas, 33-year-old Instagram influencer and freelance model Janae Gagne at the kind of lifestyle that many can only dream of having amassed over 2 million followers on her various social media profiles. Gagne reported netted a 6-figure income as a result of her many sponsorship and endorsement deals. Using the pseudonym Mercedes, more Gagne's social media followers included the likes of Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, Snoop Dogg, and Meek Mill, meaning that by August of 2020, she was arguably one of the most famous social media influencers on the planet. Like many of her peers, being introduced to the website Onlyfans presented Gagne with a lucrative opportunity, interactive and more intimately with her gargantuan online following, while also opening up a potentially massive new revenue stream. But according to Jenny's father, Mark, the titanic amount of attention she received brought just as many problems as it did benefits. We kept her real private. Not even some of her friends knew her real name. They just called her Mercedes. I moved my daughter into new apartments 3 times because of my insecurities. He said late last year, the sheer number of people following her online, it scared me, he continued. Some of them followed her because they admired her, loved her even, but some were crazy obsessed. It was obviously unhealthy. So at around 4 p.m. on Sunday, August 29th of 2020, when Mark Gagne hadn't heard from his daughter for almost 48 hours, he decided to stop by her home in Cortland apartment to check on her. He pulled up, knocked on the door, but no one answered. Mark Gagne then pulled out his cell phone and gave his daughter a call, swearing he could almost hear it vibrating from inside. That's when he heard movement coming from inside the house. He hadn't heard from his daughter in days, and no one was answering the door to her apartment, so who was moving around inside? Mark Gagne said that he began to suspect something was horribly wrong. So in the next instant, he reeled back and sent his foot flying into the lock, kicking it open in one furious tap. The sight that greeted him instantly broke his heart. There was his beloved daughter, eyeing lifeless at the bottom of the stairs. Her apartment had been completely trashed, and there appeared to be lipstick graffiti all over the walls of the apartment. Before he had any chance to read any of it, Mark Gagne heard a noise coming from upstairs. Mark said that in the heat of the moment, he thought his daughter might have fallen down the stairs and broken her neck, but hearing something coming from upstairs had him bolting up that floor as fast as his legs could carry him. Only then did he see a man lying in a pool of his own blood, gurgling and choking with a knife stuck in his throat as the life slipped away from him. Mark demanded answers from the dying man, but it was too late. He passed away just moments after Jenny's father had broken into her home. He had a disturbing twist of fate. Mark Gagne won't be plagued by questions for very long, because after he called 911, began to read some of the lipstick graffiti that had been scrawled on the walls. "I was used for money. Real One Piece. I should have stayed in Florida," read another. The final piece Mark read was, "I wish I never loved her. Sorry to the landlord and family." He couldn't bring himself to read any more. Although it appeared that his daughter's murder had been scrolling over the walls for days, he'd summed up a feeling and motive in just a few short sentences into Mark. It only confirmed that his worst nightmares had come to life. Janae Killer turned out to be a 34-year-old Florida man by the name of Kevin Ackerthrow, a man with such an unhealthy obsession with Janae that he somehow managed to track her down and kill her, all before taking his own life. He did not have any kind of prior arrest record in his home state, but during the subsequent investigation, police tried to establish that he'd had any prior history of mental health issues and don't even know how he found her. Mark Gagne later said, "A garden, my daughter. I won't even let her friends know where she lived." Police still don't know how or when he got to Texas. There's so much that's still a mystery. The news of her death was broke by a Canadian rapper, Tory Lanez, who paid tribute to her with a post that read, "Rest in peace, Queen." The few of the tributes seemed to address the causes for death. She was very cautious about her surroundings, Janae's mother and Jeanette Grover said, but unfortunate, they somehow basically was stalking and killed my baby. It's irrefutably horrific and important that Kevin Ackerthrow was able to track down and kill such an innocent young woman. But it's clear that Mark Gagne's fears were justified. No matter how much he tried to keep his daughter safe, the determination her stalkers showed and locating her significantly outweighed their efforts. And somehow, a man who wasn't exceptionally computer illiterate was about to somehow track down her home address. Some have speculated that the court somehow got a hold of Janae's billing information and discovered her real name and address in that way, in which case, Onlyfans had a long way to go before it can truly secure its content creators' privacy and security. So maybe until then, the risks of having an alluring online presence will outweigh any potential financial reward. Every once in a blue moon, I like to log on to the deep web and search for weird and strange things. In general, it's a relatively tame place. All the stories you hear about red rooms and hitmen are bold 99% of the time, and these sites you see covered on YouTube are just FBI and other various law enforcement agency honey traps set up to capture criminals and stupid kids looking to score online. The majority of the trafficking taking place on the deep web these days is insider leaking information to journalists and pervs sharing lewd photos of kids. Yes, there are many other uses for it, but the virtual anonymity of the platform allows these behaviors to thrive. I would like to make it clear, I wholly support whistleblowers having a safe place to pass on information they might have, by the way, but obviously not the illicit stuff that people do on there. And the story that I'm about to share occurred in my early days surfing the deep web. I had heard all the stories and was eager to see how real they were. Like others, I was a little disappointed in what I'd found. The raciest place I'd come across was a picture and video forum that was heavy on the adult stuff. I guess the best description of it is a deep blue X-hamster crossed with live leak. Everything was allowed as long as it was legal, so the kid stuff was banned. Thankfully, the adult videos were the main reason I was there, not gonna lie. A lot of the other members traded their homemade videos and pictures between one another, and I enjoyed checking those posts out. Most of the modern mainstream adult movies are a little degrading to the actresses, but I discovered the amateur stuff was not pretty vanilla, actually has made them much easier for me to enjoy. It may have been my third or fourth time I visited the site, when I got a private message from another member. I wasn't sure why he chose me or even how he knew I was there at the time, but I read it anyway. He said he was a moderator and noticed I visited multiple times but had not shared anything. Apparently, the sharing thing will not require was highly encouraged. He wanted to know if I had anything to share. Basically, I've never been the kind of filming myself doing it. However, I didn't want to cause any trouble. After thinking about it for a minute, I remember I had a few photos of my ex-girlfriend's older sister she had sent me. Don't ask. And so I sent those 30 minutes later. He sent a second message. He sounded pleased with the pictures and had a few files I could download. Despite being grateful, I was a bit leery of downloading something from a stranger, but my curiosity got the best of me. The first few videos were pretty average yet enjoyable. However, the next was a bit unsettling. The video started with a close-up of a woman's leg wearing a spiked heel, and then it pulled away to show a kitten laying on the floor. This confused me for a second, but when the woman raised her leg and stomped on the kitten, I spent the next several minutes weeping uncontrollably. Being a massive animal lover, this kind of garbage horrifies me. Call me a child all you want, but there was nothing appealing about this. The tears eventually gave over to sheer anger, and I sent a venom-laden message to this idiot voicing my distaste for his joke. I let my anger get the best of me, and I foolishly threatened to send them to the cops. Looking back on this now, it was an empty threat. The cops wouldn't likely be able to find the guy or really care. After witnessing what I had, I stayed off the deep web for about a month. When I did return, I noticed a new message from the guy that sent me the horrible videos. I was reluctant to read it at first, kind of wanted to move on and put it behind me. But another part of me wanted to see the justification for thinking I'd like that garbage. Ultimately, I made the right choice, or maybe not, it depends on perspective. I guess what I would read I was not expecting for some reason. He got into his head that I didn't belong on the forum, and he wanted to drive me away. My mistake was threatening him. He must have foreseen this, and he suggested I search my hard drive. He claimed he had hidden a file within the download that had enough CPU to put me in prison for a long time. This left me with no defense. A search on my hard drive uncovered an unknown file that I didn't recognize, and it was indeed a massive file. Although it may have been nothing, there was no way I was going to take the chance of infecting my computer with this filth.